Have you ever remembered when you were a little kid or in middle school or elementary school or even high school and you said, "Hey, when I grow up, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that." I was looking back and thinking about myself about all the things that I thought I was going to do. Now, this is me back in the old fifth grade, which I really wasn't in school a lot that year. I was sick a lot. But in fifth grade, I assumed I was going to be an athlete or maybe even something bigger, something more important, a lawyer or president, who knows. There's a lot of people in this show. There's Adam Cloud, John Trigner, a few others, I believe. I know at least Adam's in this shot, but Adam turns into, him and I had a lot of competition. Maybe because our names are so close, or maybe just because of our personality types. Even in high school, I switched high schools, he switched high schools. He did a lot better with certain things. He went to law school, got his degree, and now he's like a professor. So it's kind of crazy, but hey, that's what he did. And he had expectations for his life. His parents had expectations for his life, and he met those and maybe even exceeded those. Now, I do not have as many expectations as Adam did. My family didn't really care as long as I basically went to school and stayed out of their hair. I've told a story when I got to high school, I met a teacher who I kind of named this podcast after. In ninth grade, when I got out of ninth grade, he gave me an award, and it was called the Melchizedek Category Mistake Award, kind of like what we're talking about today, right? This was a long time ago, about 35 years ago now. And that award stayed with me, and I personally still have it, just because of how it showed me I don't have to be an original. I don't have to be like everyone else. I can be an original and still succeed. I don't have to be perfect. Throughout my life, I had lots of expectations. When I got out of high school, I did not go to college. I got married. Well, I had a child, got married, and worked. I wanted to go to college. I thought that was the best thing for me. But when you have a baby and a wife, you kind of rethink things. So my expectations after I got married um, were to get a job, support my family, and maybe someday do more. Now that someday took a long, long time to come. And the reason is for that is uh, I would lose a job, get a new job, get a new job. It was a cycle I had. I basically kept trying to find where I fit in. I kept trying to change my expectations, but in the back of my head, I still had them. I still had that thought of I wasn't living up to what I wanted for myself or what others had for me or what God had planned for me. And every day I kind of beat myself up for it. Now, in 2011, 2012, I deployed to Afghanistan, right? And because of that, I got home and there's me and my wife the day I got home. And when I got out of that time, I said, you know what? I'm going to finally live up to the hype. I'm going to do what I need to do. I've done the worst. I've lived through this. I can do more. So, of course, I become a teacher. I go to school for a few years, get my degree, become a teacher. Start teaching at a small Catholic school in New Hampshire where I'm teaching history, science, technology, and I've got kids everywhere, all different types here, there, and everywhere. And all these kids have a lot of pressure on themselves. And I think they do because it's a private school. It's a private school that parents have to pay for, and there's higher expectations in a private school than a lot of public schools. Now, one year when I was teaching, this was right right before the crazy of the pandemic hit. A bunch of kids in our school and Miss McGregor, who's in the back, they came up with an idea of making sure kids their age knew that they mattered. If you see, there's the "You Matter" T-shirts there. There's a few kids there that I still talk to today, and those kids' whole philosophy was even if you don't always understand how much you are important, how important you are to the world, how awesome you matter to somebody else. You matter to God, you matter to your parents, you matter to your friends, you matter to your teachers. And these kids really matter to me. And sometimes I feel like I didn't give them enough of that. I didn't show them how important they were to me. And I really feel like I let that part of my teaching expectation down. Um, as a teacher, I wanted my students to respect me, liking work, but I really wanted them to know that I cared about them as students and getting the most out of them. And some days went great, some days not so much. There's a couple kids there that, trust me, they did not want to participate, but they did because they knew they had to. And then it came time for those kids to graduate. And when those kids graduated, they always do this little, you know, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do when you grow up? Stuff like that. Okay. Now, these poor kids here, these kids graduated in 2020, which means they really left school March 13th. It was a Friday. And the next time they were really together was for a trip, like their eighth grade trip to Vermont, and then their graduation. They didn't get to have their last activities as eighth graders just because of COVID. And COVID kind of killed that. And I kind of feel bad for that too. Mostly because I wanted to do a lot of things with them and I couldn't do that due to the fact of, well, COVID, right? Now, a couple of the kids that graduated that year all had different things, what they want to do. Some said, I want to uh, get a job with my dad. I want to become I want to be a teacher. I want to do this. I want to work for Google. A couple of them um, that year, her name is Haley. You've seen her before. She wanted to do, in the top it says, if you zoom in or if you go on the SES Facebook page, St. Elizabeth Seton School Facebook page, it still exists, even though the school doesn't. It says she wants to work in dance. Now, she's doing that while also getting a degree, working with kids, occupational therapy, physical, helping kids, but her dancing is still her passion. She still wants to teach dance, but I think she's come to the idea that teaching dance is hard to live off of by itself. So maybe gets a degree in something that helps you be uh, to fund your passion. Um, I'm out of the military. I'm retired. I have a pension. I could afford to be a teacher because I had that pension. Without the pension, I couldn't do it. There's another student though. In the next year, she graduates, and she was the last class that I taught. Um, and her name is Grace. Grace wanted to be an FBI agent. FBI. She loved the show Criminal Minds. She loved saying the finer points and things, trying to find the good, the bad, the dirty. Um, she wanted to find the criminal activity and everything that was going on every day. And Grace, great student, very high energy, very emphatic with what she believed, very energetic. She's on TikTok now. She does other things now. She just graduated high school. Um, and what's funny is I talked to her and she's not gonna be an FBI agent anymore. She wants to do occupational therapy. And I said, "Oh, what happened to being an FBI agent?" And she said, dreams. Basically, dreams crashed around her. Now, I knew in eighth grade, most likely she was not going to be an FBI agent. Why? Well, she has a heart, she has a soul, she has compassion and passion for things. And to do certain jobs like what she wanted to do, you need to be able to shut off that human side of you. You need to be more robotic. You need to be more or less passionate. You need to care about the facts, not about the people. Grace is not one of those people. Okay, Grace cares more about people. She cares more about the world, kids, um, humans. She cares about us more than she cares about, oh, I need to catch the bad guy. Now, would she still think it was cool? Yes. I don't think if she ever actually did it, it would be her passion. I think she'd leave it pretty quickly just because of who she is. She's a kid, now an adult, who the first time I met her in every class I had with her, I always knew she might not always get it, but she was going to give her all. And if someone else was struggling, she would be there to help them and to try to understand them. Okay. And that is amazing. It's just great. And I love every second of that because that's what the world needs. The world needs kids who just want to become adults who care. And I feel like Grace and Haley both are kids who are turning into adults who care. Now, do I always understand them? Well, I understand Haley's dance recital or what she's doing. No, but I'll support her. If Grace goes to school and becomes an occupational therapist and decides to work in a school and she says, "Hey, Mr. M, I need advice on how to do something," I'll give it to her. I've never been an occupational therapist, but I'll give it to her. And I'll give it to her because that's what I do. And that's what she deserves. She deserves somebody who will reach out and care about her. Okay. And that's, I think, that's a big point there. Now, the COVID class right here, okay, they went into their eighth grade year expecting a big graduation, big pomp and circumstance, the whole thing. That didn't happen. Now, did it ruin their lives? Well, I know at least three of them, no. I don't know about the rest of them. Actually, I'd say four of them. Okay, so I know Haley is doing really well. Joelle's doing well. Dakota is living her life the best she can. She's had some rough circumstances. I'm pretty sure Trapton's okay. Hannah is okay. Golden Child. Cheyenne, I'm not sure about. Piper, I believe, is doing just fine in Florida. But that's the point. You know, they had expectations and they didn't let a worldwide pandemic destroy their expectations. They went and decided to change up and tweak things so that way they could grow and learn from it. And while we always have a new batch of kids graduating, we always have a new set of kids moving on. This is the last class I graduated for SES. Okay, these kids, Nick, Ben, Emmett, they're all they're all doing great. Marissa, um, Nick is into theater. He's doing really well. He's won awards. He sings. Barrett is in Florida. She's like a swim guru. She teaches. She wins awards. Charlotte is not a nun, but she's helping a lot with Timbernook. Ben and Emmett are trying to do what they need to do to grow and to be better men in this world. Uh, that means joining the Navy, the Coast Guard, whatever they need to do. They're just trying to grow and be better. Uh, Layla and Lila, who's not there, but she was. They're both living their best lives that they can. Now, Layla's down south again, Lila's still up here. And the point I'm making is they were the last school to graduate from the school. The school closed after this. And again, a lot of these kids had gone here for a long time. They were emotionally attached to this school and it no longer existed after them. Expectations versus what needed to happen. Okay. When I started thinking about what I was going to do when I grew up, I thought of everything but being married, having kids, and being a teacher. Those three things were not on my radar. Um, I saw what marriage did to adults, didn't like that. I saw how difficult teaching was because I was one of those kids who were difficult. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't think I could be a type of person who could handle kids, um, people who could be around kids, uh, people who could love kids. Because as a kid, I didn't feel um, loved that way from my parents the way I thought I should. Now, the older I got, the more I realized that it was different. Um, my dad loved me, but he couldn't be around because of other factors. And I forgave him for that. And I'm worked past that, and I know that he loves me. I know my mother loved me in her way. Um, but again, she had a lot of other things mentally going on, and I kind of have to just work through that. But my expectations in third grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, even high school, um, changed. In high school, I was told by some people that I was going to be, have a lot of kids, be a teacher, and I laughed at them. So that's not happening. But by my senior year, I realized I want to be married. I like teaching, uh, not as a teacher, quote unquote, but just I like teaching. I like learning a lot and teaching a lot and showing people different ways of seeing things. But then, of course, I got married, had kid. Well, had to my daughter. Got married a month later. Had more kids. Had more kids. Had more kids. Had kids show up. Kids disappear, come back, disappear, come back. The whole thing. Okay. Then I joined the army in '99. Got out in 2003. Joined back up in 2009. Deployed. Spent a lot of time away from my family, from my kids, from my wife, from the world. I spent a lot of time in parts of the world that I didn't want to be in. Okay. 2016, I got out and they offered me school. I took the school, and what did I want to be? A teacher. Got my degree, started teaching. I left SES. In theory, I left St. Elizabeth Seton. I've said this before to get my master's, but I just, I almost felt like it was too good to be true, and I just decided I was done. And then I didn't teach. Then I went back to teaching again for a little while. And again, I sabotaged myself and I left. And now I'm still not teaching. And I was going to in this fall, but then I had this accident last year in October where I hit my head. And since then, my anxiety, my stress, my depression has been out of control. Some days great, some days not great. And I didn't feel it was good for kids for me to be part of their lives like that. I'm not sure. Maybe it is. Maybe I am again self-sabotaging by thinking that what I have to give isn't enough because I'm struggling with some stuff. Not sure. Um, but I know that I am a good teacher. I just have to have the focus and the trust in myself to do it. And I think, like I said before, I'd like to finish getting my master's degree once I know that I can deal with this stuff going on in my brain. Because this kid here, wearing the Kennebunkport Recreation shirt, picture next to Lorraine Cole and Andrew, and then all these other kids that I remember most of them. Um, he would say, "Just do it, dude. It's not that difficult. Just go to school, finish it, do what you want to do. Stop letting other people dictate what you're doing." And that's what I've been doing. The doctors keep telling me don't do this, or this person keeps telling me don't do this, or you can't do this, or you're not smart enough for this, or you don't have the attention span for this. And they're right on some of it. My attention span is horrible. I do struggle with reading physical books because of my eyes and my brain, but I can still learn. I can still grow, and I bet I can still get my degree and finish this and do it the right way. And do it in a way where I feel proud of what I've done. When I graduated college, I didn't feel as proud as I thought I would because I felt like um, I didn't learn a lot. I learned some things in history classes, like how to teach, but even the teaching classes, I didn't learn a lot. What I learned most was um, a lot of time spent in college is just doing a class, checking a box so you can get a degree. And I'm not a big fan of that. I never taught my students so they could pass a test. I taught my students so they could be better people, know more, do more, change the world. And I feel like they didn't do that for me in college. I had a couple teachers who did, but most of them didn't. They didn't care. I had a few high school history, my high school history teacher, a few other teachers who seemed like they wanted me to be a better person. That's how they taught, but most of them didn't. And I don't want to be a teacher or a student who's doing it just to do it. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a student who is trying to teach and to learn to change the world for the better. My expectations have not been met most of my life. What I've always wanted to do has never come to you know, full picture yet. But I feel like with this, with the new training I'm doing for my mind, with therapy, with medication, with time, um, with clarity, I'm starting to realize that I can do it. I have to just stop being my worst enemy. And with that, I need to learn how to be okay with just okay. I'm not going to be perfect in everything. I'm not going to be the perfect podcaster. I'm not going to be the perfect student. I'm not going to be the perfect teacher. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do my best to be me. And on days where I struggle with that, I'm going to be okay with just getting by. I'm not going to beat myself up every day when I don't do perfect and I don't meet my expectations that I thought I had for myself you know, back in fifth grade, Miss Waterhouse's class. You know, it was a different world. I was a singer back then. I had to have throat surgery. Then I got an allergic reaction to some stuff at the school, so I couldn't go to school. So I did summer school and I did tutoring at home. So this classroom I was only part of for a couple months. But that part of me, that kid right there in that top corner, with the blonde hair and the red shirt, to the right of the teacher, yeah, that's me. Um, he wanted to succeed in the world. He wanted to thrive, to grow, and to be better. And I feel like I owe it to him. I owe it to myself. I owe it to Haley. I owe it to Grace. Oh, let me see if I owe it to Grace. There we go. I owe it to these kids. I owe it to a lot of people. And I owe it to her, the wife, the love of my life, and them, and them. I owe it to all of them and myself because, like this says, you matter, I matter. I matter to those kids, even if some of them don't always like me. I owe it. I matter to her. I matter to my kids. I matter to the kid in the corner with the red shirt and the blonde hair. I owe it to the man, and I matter to the man who gave me this award, David Ingracia. He had hope and faith in me when not a lot of people did. So today, really all I need to focus on is not beating myself up over not meeting my expectations, but finding different ways to meet the expectations that I have for myself today. Not the ones for 10 years from now, not from the ones that I had 30 years ago or 40 years ago. What are today's expectations? And how can I make today a better day? And how can I make what I want for myself today happen? Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, please, if you could. Grace, Haley, thank you for allowing me to use your story, your pictures. The other kids are in the pictures. I didn't ask because I really wasn't talking directly, but I did bring up a few of you. So thank you all. Thank you for like 6,000 views. A lot of them are shorts, but all other ones aren't. And thank you just for sticking in there with me. And have a great day, everyone.